Next up is Janet Barresi. We have many DACA students attending our schools across this country and here in Oklahoma. What should be done to give them a path to citizenship, or do we end DACA and put something new in place?
Well, let me be clear about a few things. I stand with President Trump, and I believe we need to crack down on illegal immigration. You know, we have to have a brand new immigration law that, among other things, disincentivizes the coyotes from abusing and exploiting women and children. And with massive job loss, we have to protect the jobs of American workers first and foremost. I oppose amnesty, which is immediate, in my mind, includes immediate citizenship for anyone that is willfully breaking our American law. We're a land of laws, and I believe in the rule of laws. And I also am opposed to any money, federal money, going to those that are being protected within sanctuary cities, for those cities or communities and all of that. I am waiting on the ruling of the United States Supreme Court regarding the DACA issue so we can move forward. But this begins with a very good, high quality immigration law, and not something that the Democrats and the socialists and the liberals are putting together to give amnesty to everyone.
Okay, thank you, Janet. Next is Michael Ballard.
Yes, another quote from the late great President Ronald Reagan. He had the amnesty bill back in the 80s. He granted the citizenship or pathway to citizenship for the illegals that was here, and the Democrat Congress promised to build a wall, stop the immigration. Well, he signed the bill, they became citizens, and guess what? That wall was not built, and he regretted that to his dying days. Now, I am for legal immigration. What I am against is illegal immigration. Now, I find it appalling that people have to wait years and years and even up to decades, over a decade, to become a citizen or to be even eligible to come into this nation. We should shorten that time. But before we even talk about any amnesty or anything that resembles or sounds like amnesty, we should completely secure our border with not just the border wall, but high-tech technology, and increase the ICE agents and the border agents.
Okay, thank you. Next is Miles Rahimi.
Thanks, Josh. That's a great question. You know, I'm first generation American. My father came over here as an immigrant, but our immigration system is wholesale broken. So as far as DACA, I'm for getting rid of it and starting fresh. For generations, our country has had the welcome mat out, so to speak, for the entire world. And no country has been more generous in welcoming to immigrants than America. That's why I'm here today. But it is not in our own best interest to have an immigration, but I'm sorry, it's in our best interest, rather, to have an immigration moratorium. We have to hit the pause button and fix our problems that are so apparent in our immigration system that has allowed anchor babies, chain migration, worker visa programs, among other things, including student visa abuse, sex trafficking, and bringing across the opioids that killed my mother. And that includes a pause on refugees, if you will, particularly from countries that don't share our values, as maybe they'd be better served in other areas of the world that are better for their culture and more aligned with them. But it's also time to ratchet up the criminal penalties on employers who hire illegals and abuse our worker and student visa programs. Fines are not enough. I will fight to legislate jail time. We aren't a country if we don't have a border, and we can't control our immigration system if they're just allowed to flow through like the radical left ones. And so this will be my top priority when I'm elected.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Miles. Next up is Charles Pringle.
Okay. For what I'm going to say, a lot of people may think I'm prejudiced, racist, but whatever. I'm probably the only one here who has Mexicans in his family. My daughter married a Mexican man. His lived in Reno, and his father served in the military during Vietnam. They came over here legally, and we love him dearly. And we have 2 grandchildren by them that are half Mexican. But we need to build the wall. Now, the Democrats in the 70s, when Ronald Reagan's, they took the $25 million that he gave them. They took it and blew it. They didn't build the wall. That was the Democrats for you. And as far as the DACAs, they're here. They're getting the best education that our schools can give them, no matter how bad the schools are. But I would not give them citizenship. They could earn it. I might be willing to set something up where they could earn citizenship. And I'm in favor of what we used to call in the 50s Bracero programs. Okay. Maybe we may need 200,000 or 300,000 people in Arizona and California to come in and pick fruit or whatever.
Thank you, Charles.
Thank you.
Next up is Jake Merrick.
Well, I believe first and foremost, we have to secure the border. And I definitely stand with President Trump in building the wall, securing our border. And then in addition to that, providing to our immigration officials all of the resources they need to effectively do their job in a humane and expedient way. But that stops the bleeding. The question that remains is, what do we do with those who are currently in the system, that are currently residing in the United States? I don't believe it makes sense to round up 12 million immigrants and ship them back to Mexico or wherever they came from. Those that are inculcated and integrated into our culture and are contributing in a positive way, I am in favor of a pathway to citizenship. This does exclude those that are criminals and those that continue to break laws. But I think it's in our best interest to consider a way to help them become legal without giving them the full rights and benefits of citizenship until they have met certain requirements. I believe the first step is documentation, that we need to know who is in our country. And then, there needs to be a process set in place, which includes learning English, and it includes, a temporary driver's license, a temporary identity, until they meet certain requirements that they can earn. They can earn citizenship as they prove their faithfulness to this country and their, trustworthiness. And so I believe there is hope for DACA in those children that were brought over by their parents. But there's a lot of factors to consider. One brief thing, I am opposed to sanctuary cities, and I'm not for amnesty. This is not amnesty I'm talking about, but it is a program that I think we can implement.
Thank you, Jake. Next is Shelli Landon.
Well, concerning DACA, I am opposed to sanctuary cities as well and amnesty. But I stood up at the Council for National Policy after Phyllis Schlafly finished speaking about this and Eric Anderson. And I was asked to submit what I had to the congressional newsletter, which I have held back on yet because there are some things I'm not ready to release publicly. But I believe that there's a program we can put in place with that border that would involve the children that have come from DACA. It would help them to earn their citizenship. I believe in the wall, yes, but it's too little too late. I have sat for over an hour in an investigative situation with a CIA agent who I met through the Center for Security Policy. I've been trained by the Sedge Academy in National Security myself concerning the terrorist elements coming across our border from Al-Qaeda and other. And one of my friends owns a ranch there on the New Mexico border. And I listened to her talk about the honeycomb tunnels that go underneath of those ranches. They have Hezbollah configuration in the architecture of the tunnels, and that's where the drug lords are coming through. We have a big problem. So I think we can have a faith-based program where we put the Peace Corps type of idea back in place, where kids are no longer just sitting on their cell phones and the narcissistic level of what can go on. You don't have to carry a gun into a war. You can ditch all of that and go down and put your hands to the plow of helping the lives of people that would legally immigrate. And then a faith-based program where instead of sending our missionaries overseas, we send them to the border. There could be a tax break for legitimate companies that are legitimately going to interview and bring these people in. All of that combined together could make the best citizens in a program that would last about 1 to 3 years, where they're educated in English, skills, and who we are as Christian American heritage, and they could come across, and then Al-Qaeda won't find a partner. They will ditch them behind them.
Thank you. Thank you, Shelli. Next up is David Hill.
Well, thank you. This is a great question about DACA. And I think we need to think about this just a little bit. If a president can make executive orders that no president after him can change, then that's a crazy system. I'm not waiting for the Supreme Court. I stand with President Trump. He should be able to rescind that executive order and make new executive orders. But let's go even further. Why do we have all these executive orders? Why did President Obama have the order for DACA? Why is President Trump having to make these executive orders about our immigration system? It's because Congress is broken. Congress is not doing their job. Congress is not getting a hold of our immigration system and reforming it and modernizing it and helping immigrants that want to come here and Americans. And so, yes, we have 19, 20, nobody even knows the number of illegal people here in the United States, and we have an open border. We have to close that border. Then we have to address this problem of these 19, 20, who knows how many millions of people. We need to know who they are, where they are. They need to be paying taxes. And so we have to address this. We have to do it right away. It's a huge problem. And I'm so glad President Trump brought this up. He was the only one to talk about immigration in the last presidential election. And I'm so glad he did. And now it's time for Congress to get to work and fix this.
Okay, thank you, David.